Good morning, State College. Another overcast morning here at Beaver Stadium. As you can see, we have some of these low-level clouds once again, but finally a stop from some of this rain and drizzle we've had over the last couple of days. Currently sitting at 52 degrees, so it's slightly below average what we usually see this time of the year. And this can be true for the rest of the region, where we're seeing low to mid 50s for this region and for the rest of the state as well. Allentown seeing the warmest temperatures at about 60 degrees, but not too much of a temperature gradient for most of the state. Now taking a look at the current radar, as you can see, just a couple of showers over here to our east, but pretty clear for the rest of the state. And you'll start to see some of these clouds show up from that visible image, satellite imagery, since it's starting to get a little bit lighter out. Now we're finally going to have a little bit of break from these overcast conditions, but this is not going to last. Looking into tonight, we'll start to see these clouds make their way back in and see some of these rain showers also move in tomorrow morning, and then we'll finally again see a clear up into tomorrow night for most of the Commonwealth. Taking a look at our 3-day forecast, we have these cloudy conditions, but we're going to have a break from these clouds over the next couple of days. We'll have more on what could happen this week and next. Good afternoon and evening. I'm student meteorologist Liz Plumb here with your Wednesday evening forecast. As we know, it's been a nice clear day here in State College, and that's true for the rest of the Commonwealth, where there's really not much in terms of clouds or precipitation, which has been a nice break from a lot of the cloud cover we've been seeing recently. But you know what has not changed? Those cooler temperatures, most places sitting in the mid-20s to maybe even upper 30s for places like Philadelphia, but we're really not getting a break from those cooler temperatures, and that is true for much of the Northeast, where most places are still below freezing, so that story is still going. But we're starting to see a change in that as we look farther south at the continental United States. Some places like Tulsa, 45, Memphis, 39. Los Angeles, it's feeling like summer over there with 85 degrees. So we're starting to see a little bit of a warm up looking into the south, but for the Northeast, we're still sticking with this Arctic air mass, but there's not really anything on the radar in terms of precipitation, a little bit of cloud cover. The only thing we're seeing here is this low pressure system down in the south, making its way through and bringing them some much needed rain. That's going to make its way out by tonight and into tomorrow. But looking at our future weather, we are going to see another round of snow looking at into Friday evening. It may just be a dusting. It could be a wintry mix. So you're going to want to make sure you're being careful while driving. So it's not like what we were seeing over the past couple weeks, but we're going to once again have another round of snow. That low pressure system to the south, it's going to make its way out. But then we're going to see some more rain come in to the northwestern area. So they're finally going to get a little bit of much needed rain, but we're just going to have some cloud cover. But the one thing that could change is we could see finally a little bit warmer temperatures. Looking into Saturday, we're going to have this Arctic air mass make its way further south, so it's going to be a cool Saturday, but we're going to start to see a warm up going into early next week and mid next week, where we're going to have more of this zonal pattern going across from the west to east, which could bring us some warm temperatures up from the south, where we could even get above freezing. I know it sounds unreal now. Like that is something that we should not usually be celebrating, but we are, because it has been so cold and we could even possibly reach 50 degrees by the end of next week. But that's obviously not what we're seeing now. Still sitting in the single digits at 7 degrees, mostly cloudy, so it's going to feel a little bit warmer, and we don't have any wind, so it's going to be a little bit warmer than what you would expect, but still going to be pretty chilly. Looking at tomorrow, pretty similar story to what we've had today, 26 degrees, a little bit more cloudy, but not too much in terms of wind. Looking at our 7-day forecast, clouds are staying in the forecast for the extended period of time, and we're going to have this chance for the snow showers on Friday. Saturday, we're going to once again have that dip in temperatures, but looking into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have this warm up. We could even be above freezing, I know, looking into Tuesday and Wednesday, but those clouds are once again going to stick around. We will have more on how we're feeling about the end of next week later. From turbulence to thunderstorms, the atmosphere can be unpredictable. That's why advancements in weather forecasting aren't just helpful, they're essential for safe flying. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, approximately 45,000 flights take off, cruise in the lower stratosphere, and safely land with about 3 million passengers in the U.S. every single day. And for that to safely happen, forecasts from experienced meteorologists are key. Aviation meteorologists specialize in making forecasts for pilots, with different variables the general public wouldn't give much thought to, such as cloud ceiling, icing conditions, or wind speeds aloft. Even small changes in these variables can impact whether flight should take off, and it is important that meteorologists are able to predict these dangerous environments, as well as for pilots to be familiar with these hazardous conditions. Aviation enthusiast, professional pilot, and my father, Keith Plumb, emphasizes that understanding how weather behaves is crucial for safe flight. He attended Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where pilots were required to take various classes such as physics, aerodynamics, and aviation meteorology to know how to safely fly.
It was meteorology for aviators, and so they tie in, but we still had to do weather forecasts, and we would be assigned an airport, and you'd have to do the terminal forecast for there, and you'd have to look and see what the weather systems, the cold fronts, warm fronts, whatever was kind of coming through, wind shifts, um, temperature dew point spread, because if it's, as you know, if it's close to the same number, then you get fog. So that all affects pilots, and so they made sure that we had a full year of meteorology.
That training prepares pilots for real-life scenarios, especially in smaller aircraft. While commercial jets have advanced de-icing systems, most small planes don't. That makes winter flying one of the most challenging and dangerous parts of general aviation. They must anticipate winter weather hazards before they even take off, because by the time ice begins forming on the wings, safe landing options become extremely limited.
Even though it might be clear the first couple thousand feet, but then we go into the clouds, which are liquid, and if it's below freezing, you can pick up ice in the clouds, and we have no way to get it off of our wings.
And that's just one of the elements pilots have to plan for. Another important factor in smooth airport operation is avoiding the most anxiety-inducing atmospheric factor for passengers: turbulence. While some people enjoy the thrill of a little drop in altitude, plenty of flyers get chills down their spine the moment the pilot turns on the fasten the seatbelt sign. In an airline or jumbo jet, bumpy air is more of a threat to the passengers than the makeup of the aircraft. Turbulence can lead to injuries for unbuckled passengers, or even buckled passengers when loose objects become projectiles. That is why pilots spend a significant amount of time reviewing turbulence forecasts, upper air patterns, and pilot reports before even arriving at the airport. Knowing where unstable air sits in the atmosphere allows them to map out the smoothest route possible. But for smaller planes, safety of the aircraft is a greater concern, and thanks to evolving technology, general aviation operations have become much safer.
And there's just sometimes you just can't go fly because the weather's bad. But it's definitely changed in the last 15 years because of technology and being able to use next red radar, being able to use internet to look at radar stations, to get real-time weather reports while you're flying in the air. I can be an hour away from landing somewhere and I can check and get exactly what's happening there for the winds, the clouds, temperature, dew point, things like that. There's things in the cockpit that you can help make decisions to fly around thunderstorms or not flying to icing conditions. Um, and that's the thing about weather. It's ever changing. It's never the same thing the same day.
And technology like this is essential for the guarantee of a safe flight. These improvements help identify hazards earlier, giving pilots more of a time to reroute around varying weather patterns. This is especially important with the amplification of severe weather that even pilots are recognizing.
Weather is a powerful, powerful force. And again, I think just in my flying career, it just seems like the weather's more intense. It's more unstable. Thunderstorms are getting taller, you know. Um, it's you just don't mess with Mother Nature.
This is why airline pilots and first officers are required to accumulate a certain number of flight hours before they can hold their positions, measuring a minimum of 1,500 hours to be a first officer. This makes flying commercially much safer than any form of transportation, with the National Safety Council reporting that the odds of dying in a commercial plane crash to be about 1 in 11 million. The odds of dying in a car accident are roughly 1 in 101 people, making driving over 100 times more deadly.
When there's something bad that happens, whether it's a small airplane or a big airliner, it's all over the news, so a lot of people know about it. every year, typically aviation gets more safe. And part of that is pilots getting more tools, more technology to help them fly the airplane.
Despite headlines focused on rare incidents, the aviation industry is one of the most heavily regulated and monitored industries in the world, using some of the newest technological systems created. Advancements in meteorology and technology have given pilots a clearer picture of the atmosphere, allowing them to make safer and more informed decisions. Whether it's wind shear, icing, or rapidly strengthening thunderstorms, these improvements have transformed how pilots make better decisions from takeoff to touchdown.
It has definitely gotten more safe, but there's nothing that beats quality maintenance on your airplane, training, getting professional training on your airplane as a pilot, and then knowing how to use all the tools when you go and make weather decisions.
Pilots rely on aviation meteorologists to make these complex weather decisions. Their insight is the foundation of aviation safety, ensuring that travel through the atmosphere remains as smooth and safe as possible. For Weather World, I'm Liz Plumb.